Afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you to the Stellar Leadership Program 2020. As you are aware, this is a 22 session program in which we intend to meet prominent industry leaders and try to understand what was their journey like, what were the obstacles they faced, how did they achieve this kind of a success. Every business is created with a hope to be successful, and today's topic is about the same thing. However, I clearly believe that 1 hour is not enough for us to grasp everything out of it, but this is a journey to start. A plethora of business plans are created every day and they have a very high amount of risk attached to them. We see businesses failing sometimes in a very short period of 5 years or sometimes in a very long era post 30 years. So, what do you think? Is there a recipe to success? Do you think a manager or a leader can understand whatever the steps he or she is taking are leading to a right path? These are questions we intend to get answer from the current session today. Welcome you once and all for the first session. Today's topic is design, build and operate a successful organization for a lifetime. We have in our panel today Mr. Jeevat, who shall be moderating the session today. Please welcome him. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We also have with us Shakti Singh, who is our director and CEO Pratap Group. Also, please join me in welcoming our guest, Mr. Sunil Kumar Goyal, Managing Director, Your Nest Venture Capital Funds. Pratap extends you a very heartiest welcome, sir. Also, we have with us Jaideep Sharma, who is our CEO, Pratap Cars. We have Ashish Verma, Circle Business Head from Maharashtra Zone 1. And we have Amit Jain, who's a CAM for Ericsson as a consumer. So without any further delay, I would hand over this session to Mr. Jeevat for taking us further into this journey. Thank you, sir. Please welcome.
Thank you, Janvi. Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to the Stellar Leader Program 2020. And it's a great honor and delight to have Mr. Sunil K. Goyal, Managing Director and Founder, Your Nest Venture Capital. Sunil K. Goyal, fondly called as SKG. Your Nest Capital is a renowned early stage seed fund in India. Before Your Nest Venture Capital, Sunil K. Goyal has worked with organizations like Bharti Airtel and Dabur at very senior leader positions. His proven track record of sure success is known to everybody in the industry. He is known to lead the team from front, nurture the talent for a lifetime sustainability. Sunil K. Goyal is a cost accountant from ICFI. He is a certified CFA from ICWAI, MBA from Business of Economics, Delhi University. Sunil K. Goyal also plays golf. I proudly would like to share in this forum that I and Janvi have worked with Sunil Goyal for 5 years in Airtel, and we cherish that our association with him in Bharti Airtel. We have learned a lot from him and we will remain grateful. We, Team Pratap, would like you to share an insight of your journey.
Let me give a different spin to my introduction, and particularly in the context of leadership. I barely managed to pass my 10th standard. It was a 3rd division there. Our education system is so pathetic that it does not recognize the need of logic or enabling us to learn the way a particular child or a student wants to learn. After my 10th standard result, my father, being a baniya, very simply he said, Sunil, तेरे को एक grocery की दुकान खरीद देता हूँ. By the time your friends will be graduates, you will be having enough money in your pocket and your savings would be much larger than the earnings that they'll be making after graduation. He happened to depute me to a close relative in Patiala to be there in a small aata ki chakki, or mohalle ki aate ki chakki. Let me tell you, that was the golden period for me. Business was intuitive for me. It was so easy to learn every aspect of that buy, sell, going to the art dukan and buying stuff. Learned every piece of business during that particular summer vacation. Luckily, I still managed to get commerce in my 11th standard. Another game-changing moment happened. My professor of economics told me, or told the entire class, that if you have to worship any profession ever, he being economics said, it has to be an entrepreneur. I may not have understood the meaning of entrepreneur then, but let me tell you, I really believe in every profession, whether it is the doctor, whether it is a professor, whether it is whoever, the moment he transitions to become an entrepreneur, they create multiple times more value than what they create in their own profession. Hence, this has started driving me as a theme. Now, why I'm saying and giving this background to you? Reason is only one. For becoming a leader, you don't need to have high IQ. Leadership or a stellar leadership means only one thing. Can you surround yourself with people who are far more talented than you around you? Can you give them a purpose to drive them together for a common purpose? Leadership is about the combined force of this intellect, and you need not be one of them. You are just one of the people who have situationally arose to actually come and guide them and help them find a solution. So that's a little bit of my background. You may not be knowing this part of my background earlier, Jeevat and Janvi.
Yes, sir. Sir, very inspirational and insightful. You talked about entrepreneurship. How you think about building a team of high performers?
To me, it is always about inspiration. It is about purpose. In case you have a big, audacious, hairy goal. This is a book by Jim Collins, Built to Last. This book I happened to read before I met Jeevat and Janvi in 2005. And the example that the author gives is about US President's mission in 1960 taken to go to the moon. So for building a high performance organization, it is the purpose that drives you. Now, what has been my purpose when I was working for Dabur or Bharti Airtel? When I was in Dabur, every day I used to feel that whatever I'm doing, maybe I'm functioning in the corporate planning or a finance team, etc., but I am making India healthy. Whoever is using our products, and I genuinely believe that every product of Dabur is of highest quality, and hence it is giving a healthier life to people around us. And when I joined Airtel, it was about instant gratification given to the family members or the people for them to be able to connect with their loved ones there and then and make things happen better. Now, these were mega purposes. If you have a purpose and the customers can see that you're there to deliver it. In your own Pratap group, you've talked about delivering on time with all compliances being met. Now, these two elements are very rare to find. Just these two elements can drive the entire team, that we are here for every customer of ours to fulfill everything on time, deliver on time, and with all compliances being met. How do we make the mission of every leader has to be keep communicating that purpose time and again to the team so that they are aligned to it. Flashback, 2005. I was about to meet a lowest level in Bharti Airtel MPCG circle, which is a sales executive for a prepaid. And this was one-on-one meeting with a prepaid sales executive. Before going to the meeting, I was wondering as to how I will inculcate a feeling of dying for the company. Met him, I asked him, what do you do? Sir, I am the front-end sales executive. I said, okay, fine. Who do you report? How many people report to you? He said 0. I said, how many distributors you serve? He says 2. How many distributor salespeople that you have? He says between them 5. How many retailers do you cover? maybe 200. Says, fair enough, fair enough. You have actually a very, very large family to cater to. Now here, I just mentioned to him that, do you think it is responsibility of yours to train these 5 people who are working for the distributors? Do you think you can ensure they're empowered by the distributor to be able to serve your retailer better? Do you think you can ensure their happiness at the end of the day, every day? He says, yes, sir, I can do that. I said, if you will make sure that he's happy at the end of the day, those 5 guys will go back home and make 5 into 5, 25 family members happier every day. Now your purpose in life is to make sure they are happy. And it's a very simple mantra. And let me tell you, our revenues grew from 100 crores from that period to 1200 crores in a period of 2 years. Because everybody was working with a particular purpose in the organization. This is 2005 to 2007 late. So in that particular period, a very simple example of purpose. Here, I would still recommend one book to be read. There's a book called Conscious Capitalism. Conscious Capitalism is by Raj Sishodia from Babson College from Boston. If you are finding difficult to find a purpose in life or a purpose for your organization, this book definitely will give you some insights as to how to find that bigger purpose and aligning your team to deliver that for the lifetime.
Sir, purpose is there, a mission is there, but what comes next, I think, is execution, which is also a very equally important part. So what does one does for excelling in execution?
Very well said, yeah. Let me think of an individual in an organization. Okay, that last man standing of the 15,000 people. Let's say you're meeting him again. In our working life, it's very difficult for us to get to know him personally or professionally. He will have multiple challenges in life. And we know that each one of us have many, many challenges. And here comes an organization which is asking them to perform for him to make his livelihood. Livelihood is the most important aspect for him. During that particular livelihood, if he ends up making a mistake and your organization is not ready to tolerate that mistake, he will never come forward to take a decision. The most important aspect of a culture is to encourage or to support when the mistakes are done, to give that particular fallback to these executives, either through a process of participative leadership or through the process wherein it's a joint and a consensus decision, or it's a well thought out decision. It is, if the person in the front line has been given the empowerment to go and win a particular situation, when he takes a decision, not questioning him. So this is one aspect of execution. There is a second aspect of execution. Here again, I'll give the example of Bharti Airtel. It's a telecom example, 2005. Jeevat and team were leading multiple roles there. While taking the charge, I happened to go to my mentors and ask them, what is the most important thing for Airtel in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh to be successful? They only said network, network, and network. So only do network, Sunil, you will be successful. That was network was transitioning from Siemens to Ericsson. Siemens was not performing well worldwide, and hence we were replacing them with Ericsson. And this team was able to only erect 25 towers after huge amount of battle and pain in the system every month. I understood that in a month's time. Got around 15 or 20 of them together. That means Siemens guys, Ericsson guys, our technology team, our commercial team, and some of the external partners like you, maybe the way Pratap must be doing for some of the telecom companies, into a room. These were around 20 people together. Meeting started around 2 o'clock. I was there with them for an hour, guided them through that as to how survival of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh is dependent on this team of 12 to 15 guys. If we are not able to put up towers at a faster speed, we are not going to be in existence as a company, as a circle. We are already number 5. It can only be pushed back to number 6 in a 6 operator market. Let me tell you, the magic of that, everybody coming together and solving that problem, the meeting could not end, which was planned for an hour, could not end for 10 hours or so. And once it ended, it started meeting every month. By 6 months from there, we started erecting 250 towers a month. And let me tell you, in the world, you don't report to many people. Normally, you don't have a strong board who you're answerable to. For me, my board has always been my wife. Whenever I have a mission in life, I let her know. Every day she will come back and she gets a chance to ask me how many towers were erected. I had to answer that question to her. So whatever is your mission, make it a life goal at that particular point in time, then only it happens. Again, I'll refer to another chapter, which in a leadership forum, Sunil Mittal and team happened to engrave in me. This is a book called Good to Great, or Good to Great. It talks about level 5 leaders. Now, level 5 leaders is very simple thing, professional will. The example that I'm giving you out of this rolling from 25 to 250 towers is a professional will that come what may we have to achieve this particular goal. Professional will with humility. Humility is humbleness. Humbleness is about, being, having the gratitude towards team, the respect towards the team. It is about being magnanimous. You need to be a leader which is able to give back to the team when they need. So execution does happen, but it is a culture which drives it.
Yeah. Really, first of all, yes, you have refreshed my memories of 2005. I remember those towers drive we used to have and that first meeting of 10 hours. Sir, we have built a team. The purpose was there. We have built a team of high performance. We have talked about collaborative. Are we talking about that your opinion matters is one of the important factor when we move from our organization from one level of growth to the next level of organization or the next level of successibility, or you feel you are happy, you have achieved your professional will, what you committed to your board or your so-called wife, we say. What are your views and experience on this, sir?
See, 2001, I joined Sunil Mittal. He is one of my esteemed leaders that I follow. And while I was observing him, I saw him, the amount of respect that he gave to every individual. It was a meeting wherein, if it's a management council meeting, every time for notes taking, there will be a management trainee sitting out there or a junior person sitting out there who may not be in agreement with the decision that he was taking. He will make sure that he listens to every opinion. And he takes out that extra 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes to be able to explain as to why he feels what he's going to be doing is right and ensure that the person is aligned. This is one example. But the second aspect is, most of us organizations, we do an employee engagement survey. And there is a tool called Gallup, which has 12 questions. On the 12 questions, I would try to bring out on the respect side, what Giver said, your opinion counts, is the most important aspect. If an employee out of the 12 questions feels that his and her opinion in the organization counts, you have a culture which is designed to excel. There is nothing better than this particular aspect, and this particular thing is much easier for any leader to actually adopt. And you may feel that I'm a very, very busy executive. I just don't have time for myself other than my venture capital. I have invested in 25 startups, so I'm virtually in the board of 25 companies, And for my extracurricular activities, I play golf. Still, I am an active member in my residential association. Now imagine how our residential association works. There is no hierarchy. There is no decision making. Decisions never happen out there. My role is only to ensure that the opinion counts of everybody and people are aligned to be able to move faster in that decision making. And we are excelling just because of this particular cultural aspect.
Very thoughtful and informative, sir, that yes, your opinion count and every team member has to be taken into the entire journey as a passenger so that we all reach the destination. Now, when we have almost there on the destination, we know we can see our goal there. The situation where we reach is how we continue to excel. The leader who has built this team, he had a mission, he had a purpose. Then he started building a team. Execution happened. Excellence came in. He started getting into a collaborative mode. Now I'm just few steps away from my goal. There, what it comes is that the excellence, a leader has to continue to excel. So we would like to hear from you on that part also, because that is where we are almost, in the last 5 overs we call in Indian cricket slog overs. That is what we need to maintain the run rate and to win the match also.
When I was moving from my staff function of being part of strategic roles or the office functions at the corporate to the chief operating officer role in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, I went to one of my mentors who was on the board of Bharti Airtel. He only told me one thing, that Sunil, at any point in time, please have 5 mentors. I was wondering, I always had 1 or 2 mentors. He's talking about 5 mentors. He says, not a single mentor is capable to solve every problem that you have in life. There are going to be some personal life problems. There are going to be some technical problems. There are going to be financial problems. There are going to be problems even as bad as embezzlement in the company and how to handle that situation. You need to know and go to your mentors, and the mentor should know that you treat him as a mentor. You are his mentee. Because the moment a mentee calls, mentor will leave everything aside. He knows that for the next 10 to 15 minutes, I have to pay full attention to my mentee, because whatever I'm going to be saying, it is going to be implemented by this gentleman. And hence, they're cautious. So the first tool of continue to improve yourself is having mentors at any point in time. 2 more tools let me give you. It was late in my life, but in 2010, Bharti Airtel nominated me to the best leadership program of the world. This is run by Center for Creative Leadership. CCL, the US organization, only focuses on leadership development, and this program is called Leadership at the Peak. I was in Colorado, near Denver, 5 days program. One most important thing was how healthy a leader needs to stay all the time. See, a leader cannot, when a call comes, he can't say that I'm not well. I can't take your call because I have a family engagement or so. You have to be always alert and fit. And alertness and fitness, I was taught, despite being Indian, I was taught yoga there formally. I was taught about vegetarian diet. I was talked about every benefit of everything that needs to be done, which our culture actually teaches us. So I was taught at the Leadership at the Peak as the how staying healthy. Third point for continuous improvement as a leader, which we ignore badly knowing it. And for all 38 of you on the call today, or 37 of you other than me, please ask yourself, how do you continuously renew your network? We keep saying that as a salesperson, I have a wonderful network. I can reach out to my network. I nurture my network. It is not about nurturing your own current network. It is about how continuously you keep adding to your network every year, because the people that you need to network keep changing with your growth. And do you find time to go and solve their problems? when you will need them, whether they will be able to come and help you out at that particular point in time. Third element for any leader is network. Your network has to be very, very strong.
So we heard about that in every stage of your life, professional, personal, you need to have mentors, not one, even 2, 3. Then second, we had an objective. Five mentors. Then we need to have, the enhancing the network. That is your own personal network and the professional, so that you learn and you exchange views on that. Now, when we move to that level of execution excellence, there is also what I have learned, and I'm sure you will give us a very insightful and thought-provoking, that the best learnings have come from biggest mistakes. So what is your experience? And I am personally getting excited that I want to listen from that part, because mistakes tend to happen. As you started in the session, you said that mistakes happen. We need to give that space to that individual to perform.
Very good, insightful question, Jeevat. I was the CEO of Bharti Teletech. Globally, Beetle is the company. And our CEO reporting to the board. So the chairman of my board was Sunil Mittal. And I believe a couple of mistakes I did. One, I believed capability in a person comes with the background of that person. The background or the experience of the person is not a representation of your capability and competence. I'll tell you why. When I was in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, I was 38 years old. My team average age was 32. I became CEO of Beetle. I was 41 years old. My average age of my reporting team was 55. And I felt these people who have so much of experience of running a manufacturing company, trading company, distribution company, their experience should count, and I should be leaning on them and considering that as a capability. Versus that, today I invest in a 25-year-old founder and a CEO, and we empower him to recruit 150 people and lots of people who are experienced people with 50 years of age to work under that 25-year-old gentleman. The element is capability assessment is a very, very important tool while you are delegating a decision to a particular team or so. Sometimes as a leader, you are a chosen leader because you're supposed to decide for your followers. They cannot decide for your followers. You need to be in a firm footing to be able to tell them, this is the way we are going and this is the route to be taken. Do not go and be impressed by the background. Here, one more mistake. In my entire career of last 28 years, never ever an exceptional contributor had left me or quit my organization except this situation. And exceptional contributors can never leave you. You are made and you're there because of them. 2008, we had recruited one director, sales and marketing. He was IIT and IIM Ahmedabad. And the assumption there while recruiting was that he was very, very impressive in the interview rounds, etc. Within 2 months, we recognized that this person is a mistake that we've done. Went back to my HR. HR said, no, we are Bharti. We cannot fire a person like this. You need to handhold, groom him for next 6 months to 12 months. And then only we'll take the decision to have him moved. With that decision being put in limbo, the next line general manager happened to put his paper. And it was a sad day of my life. Later on, when I was doing my executive interview with Sunil Mittal on Beetle, and told him of the reason for downfall of Beetle was one of these decisions. He said to only me, Sunil, you should have resigned the day the director HR did not agree to your point of view, because you were the CEO. You were leading that company. You knew what is best for your company. And in case your peer was not listening to you, you should have put in a paper that this is the best way to go about. and build your company. So sometimes firmness is important, and sometimes firm decision making is very, very important. I would say with this two mistakes that I'm sharing with you, you will have some lessons to pick.
That's a very thought-provoking and very touchy. I have questions, but I have to take care of the time and also. So I would like to open these questions to the session, to our panel.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ashish.
How are you, sir?
Very well. You look familiar, but I don't know where have we met.
Yes, sir. I was there with you in MPCG only, sir.
Okay.
I was there in Jeevat sir's team only.
Aha, very good, very good.
Yes, sir.
Fine, Ashish.
Sir, I have one question. How should a leader handle the risk taking and the failures which are coming up during this operations and during the businesses?
See, risk taking is the thing which is part and parcel of any organization, any team. And the failures is a natural outcome of multiple initiatives that you take. One, if you have a belief in the Almighty, one way to react is simply that maybe this was destined in our life, and hence the Almighty must have done it for something good. So we bury it, we forget about it, it's happened, we carve out a new goal from that moment itself. So it's not about failure, losing a deal. There is a situation for you to emerge from there. Actually, on the reverse side, as a leader, you have to make sure that every win is only celebrated for a while. And while you're celebrating that win, you need to give the next goalpost to your team there and then. You cannot delay it by 24 hours. The message of the next goal has to go in while you're celebrating, while you're complimenting, so that the mind, which is so energized after a win, is re-energized for a next mission in life. So that's how that one takes care. And whenever a failure happens, the best thing is to just to believe that there is something better the Almighty has thought through for you.
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir. Jaideep this side. Few of the panelists have a previous relationship with you, but we are meeting for the first time. So I'm from the automobile background.
Very well.
Kitab Group has diversified into automobiles in a big way. So I'm thankful that I'm getting the opportunity to be part of that diversification. So my question to you, sir, is how much is self-assessment important for a leader? And if we want to inculcate the practice of that in our leadership team, what would be the 2 or 3 pointers how we can do it successfully?
So, Jaideep, knowing yourself, your strengths, weaknesses, your self-assessment through whatever tools. There are multiple tools which your HR team will be able to tell you. But some tools have to be used to know how's you as a personality, what your likes are, what your capabilities are, what situations actually lead to you losing temper, what situations make you happier, in what situations you actually you feel much easier to take a decision and guide a team. If you have the assessment, you will be able to bring people who are differently talented than you around you and fill in those gaps. Otherwise, you will keep bringing your replicas and the organization will become mediocre. This is the reason capability assessment is a very important tool. In ATEL, I happened to go through in 2003. SHL happens to hold capability assessment tool over a period of 3 days or so. They happened to do multiple tests and came out with the findings on the identified leaders. So if Pratap Group knows around these 37 people that are there, what is their capability score on every parameter of leadership assessment, and you can use whatever tool. Every tool has some or the other aspect. Each one of you will be different. And being different doesn't mean that you won't be successful. It is everybody has a unique way to succeed and look at the things. So that opportunity will be there. But to your point, the journey starts from self-assessment. If some of you may have got a chance to look at my LinkedIn, my brief actually talks about my areas of weakness there. So yes, it talks about multiple strength areas. It talks about my areas of weakness in a public forum to be able to tell that I need to surround myself with highly capable people around me to be able to excel.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. This is Amit Jain.
Hi,
My
Amit.
question is, good sir, how are you? So my question is, like you suggested for the multiple mentors,
Yeah.
do we think like for multiple mentors, sometimes the decisions in such scenario will get delayed because specific mentors have some expertise or some experience in particular field. Maybe when I put one query to somebody and seek support from some mentors, like what should be the next actions for this particular problem. Maybe one mentor suggests something different, and maybe some second mentors maybe having some experience in another field, maybe he having some different view on that. So do we really think that multiple mentors result in delay in the final decision making?
Wonderful question, and let me clarify. Each of the mentors are specialists in their area, and they know that you are their mentee. You are not going to be asking the same question from the entire world. You picked up 5 people who are the best in their area. Okay, and you're going for one question. You can go to only one guy. If you're going and forum shopping around for an opinion, then you're not a capable leader. You have not identified a mentor who actually can give you the right input in one go. You are going to that one guy whom you think in this situation will give you the right guidance. And you're not supposed to be implementing that decision. You're only learning from that experience. What you have to do, your situation will be different. The moments are different. Everything is different. Hence, you are going to be taking your own decision. But in the light and the guidance that the person has given you, that how did he solve in case he had a similar problem or so. And if the mentor says, no, I've never come across a similar problem, maybe you ask him, who can I reach out to get a guidance on this particular point? And Amit, this has to happen within an hour or two. You should be able to pick your phone and speak to your mentor instantaneously, and he should be able to give a reference to you of somebody else who is more capable to answer that question instantaneously. So his word to say ki Amit is going to call you just now, please respond to him, and the person will pick your phone. That's the relationship you need to have with your mentor. Yeah.
So this is Shakti.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So you talked about forming the opinion or consensus within the team, but sometimes it happens that you're not able to form an opinion within the team. There was a difference in opinion. So what should be the tie line, or say where we need to go with the democracy, or say with the opinion of the people, or where you need to be firm about your decisions? So how do you, in your life, have you experienced such kind of thing, or say, how do you reacted to such kind of situations?
This is a everyday situation. Never ever consensus will come in. If the consensus comes in, you are actually taking a very mediocre decision. So the route is never going to be easy. You are actually, in a forum, normally majority will let you know, okay, let's go with that. So in a board, in any other meeting, etc., you're 5 of you, 6 of you, and majority of people say, yes, go ahead with it. So there is at least you've got a clarity to move ahead with the decision. But leader is not about just going ahead and implementing it. He has to energize the power of every member in the team to be behind that decision. And if he loses one power out of that 5 or 6, he's not going to get all the energies of the organizations working for that particular decision. Hence, while you may have made your effort to convince them in that particular meeting, please take out some time outside the meeting, going and chatting with that person, understanding where the person is coming from. Let me tell you, that person's yes or no doesn't matter to you. But if you've heard his objections to that particular decision, and you will be much more wiser, you will be in your communication to your team, you will be communicating far more balanced opinion after having heard a person who was against that decision. And maybe because you've taken out time to speak to that person one-on-one, when your decision is communicated, he will extend you his support, even by saying, I was against it, but it's a good thing to do. Okay, so it has to be managed. It has to be, well, for me, participative leadership is the best way. Even if consensus is not there, please carry on and move forward. But yes, if you can find time to spend time with them, go ahead.
Sunil sir, now I would like to open the session to the participants and have the first question from Rajesh Pania. He is our manufacturing head for Corsys Technologies. His question is, while accepting mistakes, how should one handle the failures of a low performer so that his performance next time is raised to expectations?
We are a high-performing organization, and a high-performing organization cannot tolerate a mistake being made for the second time. It can only be accepted for the first time in a similar situation. If a mistake is being committed the second time, a strong and a firm warning has to be going, and in whatever messages one-on-one, it has to be clearly communicated to the person that you have crossed the line. As far as systems are concerned, the systems and processes allow us to actually develop that person, give them the exposure what is required, get him a buddy, get him whatever is required if he is willing to look at it. It is when we recruit for startups, it is the aptitude of a person which is the most important, attitude of the person which is the most important. Your ability to adapt to changing customer needs, your ability to listen to people around, your ability to learn. And if this person is not demonstrating those traits to learn and learn quickly, because we don't have time, we have promises made to our customer, he cannot be part of the organization. So that messaging has to be very clear, one-on-one, in clear terms, to that executive, that yes, this is the second time that you made this particular mistake, or this is the similar situation, and why it is not tolerable, and how we can help you to come out of this situation. Understand, if you can understand as to why the person is continuing to fail.
So we need to be, we have to actually keep a performance management system there so that his mistakes, in case he's taking, has to be measured and appropriate action has to be taken.
Boss knows the mistakes, they are top of the mind all the time. So कोई performance management system नहीं चाहिए.
Next question comes from Ashish Thakur. He is Circle Business Head for UP East. His question to you is, sir, that What is the most dangerous trait in a leadership career or in a leadership style which should be avoided? Strict no.
A leader being mean in the sense that he thinks of himself first or herself first and puts that particular thing before the organizational stuff. The moment you start seeing the trait that he's only living for his own PLI, he's not thinking of the organization, he's thinking about his own conveyance bill, he's thinking about his own it is not about what time the meeting is going to be starting, but I only travel by Jet Airways. Meeting may be starting at 10, but my Jet Airways flight lands at 11. So please keep the meeting at 12 o'clock. So the moment you start seeing some signs of self-meanness developing in a leader, be cautious as an observer. To an extent, they are acceptable, but you are asking me for one thing. This is one trait in a leader which I believe need to be mitigated as soon as possible.
Is it curable, or only operations is a remedy?
I don't know. Now, I don't have the answer whether operation is the thing. It is always situation dependent. People do change. However, I've just given some examples out here to you, illustrations, but in a broader self, you're able to assess that in which situation the person places himself, herself first, rather than the organization goals, and how to alert. Maybe a forum like this will alert the people if there is even one such element in the team.
So how about to deal with the attitude of the few young talent when you're going to hire new talent? You come through attitude issues. So is it a natural, or it is something to be dealt differently? Can you guide us? You might have such kind of experience in your life. So any suggestion, advice from?
We organizations need to adapt to the current generation. The millennials or even the Generation X, which is born after the year 2000, is now coming to work. They have been brought up in a very well-off lifestyle. They haven't seen anything not being made available to them when they needed it. There was everything served on platter by their parents. The middle class of 300 million people have now nurtured them with enough. Today, if they do not have a job, there is no survival issue. They are not bothered about whether they have to get their sister married or they have to get their next meal on the plate for the family. That was there for, in our case, or earlier age. Now, it is about him and her to find a purpose in life and run about that purpose in life. They are not here to work for you. They are here to fulfill a specific purpose in life. For them, every day what counts is, are they being recognized? Is their opinion counting? Are they able to contribute? Are they able to talk about in their fraternity group as to how they are making a change at the workplace? So these people in 20s, they want to grow rapidly. They cannot be growing like you and me over a period of 5 years. 5 साल तो सीखने में लगते हैं, and hence after 6th year only we'll think of you becoming an assistant manager or so. They want to see meritocracy being recognized. Some of them may not even like to work for you as employees. They may say, tell me the project that you want me to work on. I'll work for you 6 months and then I'll go for a holiday for 6 months. Today's youth is very different. They please do not treat it as an attitude issue. It is an opportunity. They are seeing opportunities around them. Because they have so many opportunities, they need to be dealt very, very differently. During the time they are working, they will be prepared to take 24 hours ka workload as well. But that may be only limited to 5 working days. On a Saturday and Sunday, you can't disturb them. Means have enough on their plate during those 5 days. When they are working like a donkey, they're delivering everything that you want. They are having a fulfilling time. And once they believe that it's a holiday time, it's a time with family, it's time with friends, it's a time for a daru session, let them go and enjoy.
Sir, very, very touchy, very, very touchy. I have a question now from Abhishek Batra, Circle Business Head for Delhi NCR. This question to you is, does empathy weakens the leader? If yes, how to handle this?
Being magnanimous, being humble, these traits are actually of a very strong leader. Whereas the people around mistake them as the weakness of a leader. It's only momentary. It will be seen that while that particular leader is taking care of your health, your family, or other aspects of your career, but when it comes about delivery, his professional will is so strong that he'll drive you crazy to deliver it. So empathy is a tool which only a strong leader can demonstrate, because he is not fearful, because he's clear in head that at that particular situation, empathy is what was required and demanded by the situation. If some people take it as weakness at that point in time, that you're a participative leader, you listen to everybody, you take longer to take a decision, but the once a decision is taken, the way it gets executed is in a unique manner which will surprise everybody. So I would say ignore people who feel that these are traits of weakness. They'll fall in line soon.
Very informative. We have 5 minutes, so I call for last 2 questions. The first question has again come from Ashish Thakur, the Circle Head for UP East. How to keep team motivated towards goal despite conflicts, ego, competitivity issues, competition amongst resources is.
You have used very strong words: limited resources, ego. One, for any team which come together in a meeting together, or which is worthy of being called a team, the purpose is always one. Purpose is always common. If the purpose is common, it's the ways to do a same thing could be different in different minds. Once the purpose is there, and most of the time we don't listen to a leader in the room, actually people will be saying the same thing, but saying the same thing in a different manner. You have to just let go of your ego and try to listen to the person in their own words, to be able to align them to the same thing that you're trying to say, and the team will come together. Or meet in one-on-one, you will get to know, yaar, wo bhi wahi keh raha tha, jo main keh raha tha. Okay, so there is no ego that comes in between. Difficult one, but easy to do. Limited resources. you are in a leadership position just because resources are so limited. The headcount provided to you is limited, the time provided to you is limited, the expense budget provided to you is limited. Your customer is asking for something which is limited to be delivered, in something exorbitant to be delivered in a limited time. Resource allocation, resource management is an art. Now, let me give an example of this 25 towers to 250 towers, and I believe you will be able to relate to it. The resources with our suppliers were limited. Now, if Bharti Airtel has to look at from their point of view, Bharti Airtel wanted a certain number of towers to be put across India. Now, here is Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, which is increasing from 25 to 250. Where will those towers come from? Where will those resources come from? It is just not about money and our will to be able to do it. Hence, you have to devise tools to be able to get every vendor to put their best resources towards you. What we did, after Bharti Airtel at a Airtel level used to be doing a vendor meet, within a month, we used to be doing a vendor meet at Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. Who is Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh to do a vendor meet? We'll get all India vendors to come together and sit with us. We will share our 2 years roadmap with them. Every vendor happened to reallocate their resources from Maharashtra, Gujarat, from all adjoining circles onto Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. Resource allocation has to be done in a mind, not physically. Once you have won in the mind of the people around you that you're the one who actually can deliver it, you're the one who will make the timely payment, you're the one who will do everything around you in a right manner, resources will never be a constraint.
You reminded me of my first vendor meet which I did under your leadership. Sir, I have the last question because we are just on time.
Yeah.
What drives you today?
Guys, I run a venture capital fund. I take money from people and give money to the entrepreneurs. When I'm giving money to the entrepreneurs, I take a share of their earnings. I'm giving you so much of money, I'll take 20% share of that particular profit. And after 5 years or so, should be able to sell that particular shareholding to somebody who's got much larger amount of money, as well as I prepared an asset which is of interest to him. Why am I doing this job? Taking somebody's money, giving him the confidence that, your money is safe with me and I'm going to be investing in only startups. And on the other end, I'm not putting money into my own business. I'm putting money into somebody else's business and believing in him that they will do something good for us. The reason I'm onto it is that I truly believe India has the best tech talent in the world. Our 5 top tech companies, if we compare to the 5 listed companies on the Nasdaq, they employ the same number of people. So same number of people means both of us will be employing around, let's say together, 1.8 million people between TCS, Infosys and HCL, etc., whatever, and their Apple, Google, Microsoft, Netflix, etc. Between 5 of them, they will be employing the same 1.8 million people. Valuation of our companies is less than $300 billion, and we take pride of that export of $120 billion or $150 billion of tech industry. Whereas the value of those 1.8 million people employed by Apple, etc., is close to $7 trillion. What have we done wrong after having such a unique talent in the country? We have made them bonded labor of the brands from the West. We are doing services for them for the last 25 years. Whereas this talent is capable of creating products, hardware products, software products, IP-led, intellectual property to being created. For the last 7-8 years, the thing that is driving me is enabling these entrepreneurs to create something akin to Google, Facebook, Microsoft, create some products products which are meaningful and which will be liked by the entire world. So we are working towards nurturing global market leaders from India and from this tech talent. And opportunity is the same set of people can actually create a $7 trillion economy versus $300 billion that they've created today. If this is the kind of opportunity, why shouldn't I be investing entire time, attention to this? A similar example was given to me in 2001 by a investor in Singapore. I was sitting with him and we were trying to raise money for Bharti Airtel at a valuation of some, I think 300 or $500 million or something, less than $500 million. And this gentleman said, Sunil, the largest company in India, in China, is $25 billion in market cap. And without a doubt, I'm putting significant check in Bharti Airtel's IPO, because that $25 billion company may be $100 billion, but your $500 million company will definitely be $25 billion in next 5 to 7 years. Listening to him, I happened to put all my savings into Bharti Airtel. And let me tell you, it gave me a reward of 25 times in a period of 6 years. The money multiplied 25 times in a period of just 6 years. This is the opportunity that we are sitting in India for the talent that we have. And hence going about investing behind this talented entrepreneurs from India today.
Very thought-provoking. It's perfectly. Maza aa gaya, sir. Sir, now I would like to invite Shakti Singh for what he thinks.
Yeah, so I think this was the first time although we met at MPCG, but this was the first time when we are listening, hearing you. So I think it was clear to all the participants that why today Bharti is great. It is not due to that their promoters or their investors are great, but I think people like you, who was a part of their journey, made so much of talent, and that was one of the reasons that today why these organizations are growing like anything. Our heartiest gratitude to you for being here, sir, to just giving us an opportunity to hear. I think this was a fantastic session we do have, and we'll be in touch, sir. Thanks for your session and thanks for your coming here.
And I must compliment the Pratap Group for starting this particular series. Kudos to your HR team and kudos to the team that is leading it. So it is, I saw the name Dilip and Prerna. Please keep this particular work of getting your leaders exposed to interact with the practical sessions of leadership. It is going to be very, very beneficial in building a successful organization.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time. And any questions which we have, due to short paucity of time, could not be answered, we'll take it on email and we'll look forward for the responses. Thank you so much once again, sir. And thank you everybody for sparing time on our Ganesh festival. So I would like to end the session and with warm wishes and happy Ganesh Chaturthi.
Yes, best of blessings from Ganesha.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. So it was a very insightful and inspirational day for all of us today. We got to know quite, different facts also about you, which we ever didn't know in our tenure with you, sir. So with this, I extend thanks to each and every attendee who has been over here, along with all the panelists and to you, sir. There is a feedback form waiting for all the attendees in their mailboxes. So as soon as you receive the feedback form, yes, sir.
There is one thing you reminded me after saying so. Today I'm doing something for the education sector as well.
Surely, sir.
I've just invested in one education company, Practically.com. This company is making maths and science so easy for students to learn. Whatever Baiju is doing at an $8 billion valuation company, practically is going to change the way students in India and the world are going to learn, because learning is going to be by experience. learning is going to be as to how you can implement that learning. So before your chapter is learned, you get to know what's the purpose of learning that. And this is how class 6, class 7, class 8 students going to be learning science and maths. Otherwise, they are fearful of those topics. And it is going to be on AR, VR, mixed reality. So it is like sitting in a chemistry lab at your home, on your laptop, or on your AR gear, and learning that. Maybe Geo VR handset will come at $200, and hence it'll become even more popular for you to learn. So hopefully the pain that I suffered from in my childhood of learning can be overcome from tools like this and companies like this.
Definitely, sir. Definitely taking from here, because we all need to be regular learners. Learning is never going to be stopped for any one of us. And in fact, that's what we want to end our session with today. Request you all to please fill the feedback forms and send it back to me. And also for the attendees jinke answers nahi mil paye, during the session, probably because of the time lag or something, if you didn't get your answers, please send your queries to us. With your permission, sir, I'm communicating that we will answer those questions definitely. And thank you everyone once again. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all. Bye and see you next week. Thank you all.
Yes,
Thank you,
thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.